Hello, everyone. This is Audrey Codner-Gibson from ACG Math Tutoring.
And I'm Dawn Porter from Think Outside Tutoring.
And we just decided right now to kind of do a little collabo video and just basically tell you about our takeaways from this year. So as you probably already know, school year is almost over and some schools open completely and some schools are going to gradually go into it. So we were just kind of like taking a little think back of what we were doing. What are some of the things to really think about, to consider as you're about to think, hopefully, about next year. So one of the takeaways that we were looking at was like, how are the kids are being taught this year? Like overall, what did you see with the whole school situation for this year?
What I noticed is the level of help that they were getting. When we talk about kids going from digital, virtual learning into a hybrid model, or even back into brick and mortar, what I noticed is a lot of schools, if not the majority of schools, quit doing in-person tutoring from the teacher, or even after-school tutoring because of the situation with COVID. So a lot of the kids who needed the extra help weren't getting that help. And if they did, the parents didn't know where to go for that help.
Yes.
That was a big takeaway for me.
I mean, similar on this end. Like we're in the world of tutoring, but it just seems like every parent was like, I don't know where to find a tutor. And you're like, we're everywhere. Like we're all over the place. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know where to find one? But when it comes to parents, like this whole thing, as you mentioned, it was like a huge opening, like eye-opening experience for like parents worldwide. They're like, wait, you don't know this? like my case is like, you don't understand multiplication? When did that happen? You're in the 10th grade. Like when, what's going on? You should know this, that you don't get it. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that part when it comes to that.
The gaps are really big. And I think going into, we have been online or in a hybrid model over 16 months. So I'm seeing a lot of gaps where even if parents do have tutoring, it could be from a neighbor, family friend. It could be someone that they know that maybe used to teach. But what I'm seeing is the tutor, the type of tutor makes a difference. Are they specialized in that area? What kind of experience do they have? Yes, anybody can teach them math and the multiplication facts, but what method of individualized learning are they getting for these students? And it may be costlier to hire somebody who has experience not only in the classroom, but actually online or in that particular field. That may get you the bigger results though, to have the tutor who has the expertise, such as your math field, with me with reading and science. You're going to have somebody who can go a little further with that kid or go a little deeper, or even enriching if they just need a little push. So if they're behind, fill in the gaps. If they need enrichment, challenge them and push them in so they'll be ready for next year.
Exactly. Because I have one client right now where her class is at one point and we're actually working like 2 steps ahead, because I used to teach, algebra 1. So I know exactly where you're going to have that increase and where you're going to have that growth. So it's like, sorry, my dog's barking. So it's just annoying. So, and for the most part, like she loves it and her parents love that, because they're like, wait, you're not just targeting right where they're at, you're trying to advance them as well. So, I mean, with us being tutors, like we can actually help them with the advancement. I mean, even just show them like, hey, your teacher might show you this, but there was another way that might work for you because it's like your style of thinking or your style of learning. And with us having like a certified teacher, they actually know what's going on in the class. It is kind of nice to have that person to kind of know what the next step is. Mm-hmm. And also to reiterate, it's also nice to have a tutor or someone that's going to meet them where they're at and can see where the deficits are and to say, okay, yeah, right now you're doing, I don't know, let's say factoring. So right now you're doing factoring, but you still have problems with multiplication. So let's work on multiplication while I'm doing your factoring. So it's kind of like that joint thing. So
I have one student who they were struggling in reading, but again, reading above grade level, but the comprehension, the slowing down, what are the specific areas? Is it vocabulary? Is it compare and contrast? Is it inferencing? Where do we need to strengthen it to better the comprehension? Even though you can read it, doesn't mean you always comprehend it. So again, knowing those areas to pinpoint are really important, especially if you have the experience in that area when you've taught the subject, the grade level. And also, like you said, communicating with the teacher, saying, where would you go from here, and guiding in that next direction. That's really important too.
we're not here to make anybody's lives crazy. We just want our kids to learn to be independent learners, just like we would when we're in the classroom. But that kind of carries on to our second takeaway, which is what? Becoming a role model, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, being the role model, showing up on time to a meeting, organizational skills, what do you have ready in front of you right now? Do you have a pencil? Do you have scratch paper? What do you have ready? Is your homework available for us to work on? Did you send me a copy of this or that? Giving them a little bit of an added responsibility in this time of increased technological use. Also, making sure that you develop a bond with them to show that you're being a role model. I have one student who will remind me every time we get on, we have our focus, our organization, our time management. And he'll remind me, oh, it's this time, it's time to go. And I was like, well, let's wrap up and let's finish. So, but that's good because that's what a lot of kids need. They need that management of timing for assignments. And even for us, we get carried away with our work as teachers. And I mean, what do you see with how that has developed as a one-on-one tutor?
I mean, exactly the same with the whole experience and having that one-to-one. So it's always, you have that person to kind of look forward to. Like, I love when my kids are like, yeah, I got to get on with Miss Connor. I have to get on with Miss Gibson. They can't decide which hyphenated part of my name they want to use, but I take both. But just overall, because we know that they're going to make that transition from being home, now they're going to have to learn or change their mindset to be at school. So sometimes you're not going to have a teacher to help you with that. A parent can only do so much. So it's nice to have that tutor that can help with the content and also help with your child's transition. So having that, and just like you said, being on time, also having stuff prepared and just really talking with the child or with the client. It's just so awesome that now I can get to know this kid a little bit more. I can take their interests and actually apply it to the lesson. So I can say, hey, remember when you did blah, 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 blah? Now we can do it like this. I'm like, oh, so that's how I can connect it. I'm like, yes. So it's nice to, it's not saying that parents are not role models. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that teachers are not great role models. It's just nice to have another person that's not really in the mix to help break concepts down.
That individualized attention with that, you create a tighter bond, just like you would with a small group in class or, tutoring one-on-one. But online, I was amazed how tight that bond can be. And also you're holding these kids accountable. So that accountability option also comes into play with making sure they get their work done, making sure they're showing up for their sessions on time. So, and the students will be more honest with you. And then of course you are with them.
Yes.
And it's definitely a different scenario that I haven't really seen before. It's a different viewpoint.
Right.
To look at it this way. So
it's
that
all
accountability.
Building those relationships.
Absolutely. So our third one that we thought about, being that flexibility.
So we kind of touched up on that,
We did. We talked about that flexibility, where they are, where are we going to take them?
The big corporations, they have their programs like your step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Regardless of how you tested into those groups, they all have a step 1, step 2, step 3. Whereas having a general tutor, like a one-to-one independent contractor, whatever you want to call us, transformation experts, because we're here, we can actually just take what they're currently at or just talk with them and just really say, okay, well, let's develop here. And then we adjust with what they're missing, those areas of improvement. We make those adjustments as we kind of go along. And things may all of a sudden click. It might be a month you might just need, or it might be just a couple of weeks, or it might be like 2 or 3 months. But the overall general sense is that you're not in a set program that was really designed for someone else. I think that's what I basically take on. What do you think?
Well, with the flexibility too, you're looking at, like you said, you're addressing the individualized learner. So you can pull from all these different sources, just like you would in the classroom, but you're not addressing it to a classroom of children, you're just addressing it to that one. And you're not just filling in the gaps, you are enriching them. You're not just giving them the basic fundamentals, you're giving them added skills to use. So you're being the flexibility of, or even if we have to change times, or if we have to run into, an extra time frame, then we're going to be flexible. We're going to bend a little bit. We're not going to say, oh, it's 7:01, I have to go. Maybe I want to spend an extra 15 minutes. Hey, while I have you on here, let me spend this time with you so I can make sure you have it. It's you bend and you move. Or I may even call the parents back and say, do you mind if I meet with them like for 20 minutes tomorrow, just so I can make sure they have it and they're ready for a quiz. I always like to feel like that was a big takeaway from this year, is not only are we learning and being flexible with technology skills, we're being flexible with the children, the students themselves, and how they're learning and where they're at. That's a big takeaway for me.
So overall, I mean, it just seems like for one-to-one and maybe even small groups, but just having that tutor, just to have that person to really help your child do any kind of advancement or basically a little bit of remediation is just really what's needed. So overall, this is what we really wanted to reach out to. We just wanted to chit chat a little bit. So again, I'm Audrey Codner-Gibson, and I teach Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and also College Algebra. And if you need any assistance, I will put in my information below so you can see what's going on. And then Dawn, what's yours?
I'm Dawn, outside tutoring, and I am K-6 certified. So wherever Audrey picks up, I can do the before. And early elementary, I have taught reading up to about pre-algebra, algebra 1. So I may be sending some along your way. But I just want, also with parents, is your child ready for next year? And thinking about having the parents think about that. Whether it is prepping them and making sure they feel confident as a student. And also, are they ready for the challenges? If they were hybrid or online this year, are they ready for that grade level coming in? Are there any gaps that do need to be filled? So again, contact us. We're here. We do exist. And if you have questions, always reach out to Audrey or myself. We'd love to talk to you.
Yes, it sounds like the making of our next video. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.